Hello Aquarius, it's Dadhichi here from astrology.com.au. It's the month of February 2018. Here's your horoscope for the month, and we're going to touch on a few important transits, but to me the underlying theme, and it's an important one for you out of many of the signs this month, is this very strong congregation of planets in your sun sign. Mercury, Sun, doing its what we call the solar return at this time of the year. The past karma point, and Venus involved in a very strong angular lunar eclipse in your 7th house of relationships. So this month, and we're going to see a little bit later, has everything to do with your sense of identity, who you are as a person, and more importantly, how that plays out in your relationships. And why that is particularly important for you is because of the strong karmic connections here right now. Now what this means is that, look, some of you watching this are already in relationship, married. This simply means not that you're going to meet your soulmate, but even if you're with your soulmate or you're in a deeply committed relationship, a lot of the reason why you're with that person may come up this month. You'll have to grasp that on a deeper level. That starts straight away because the eclipse is on the 31st of January. It moves here, let's animate this, into the 8th house of sexuality and psychology. And again, there's some problems there with the aspect, the opposition to Neptune, showing some confusion. Clarity, clarity, clarity is really, really important if you want to get to the bottom of it. But before you can get to the bottom of it, you've got to acknowledge that there's some sort of problem. Without acknowledging any sort of problem, how are you going to solve that? So the 8th house here, during this period of 3rd and 4th, brings you in touch with those deeper psychological aspects, yours and your partner's. 9th house is a more spiritual area around the 5th and 6th, and then strong opportunities in your work after the 6th and 7th, especially with Moon making contact there with lucky Jupiter. Not considered altogether lucky for Aquarius, but in Western astrological terms, Jupiter ruling your 11th house of profits, 2nd house of income, this does hint at being in the 10th house, some opportunity financially, especially there after the 8th, moving into the conjunction of Mars in your 11th house of profitability, sociability. That can also give some problems with friends. You've got to be careful, just be a little bit quiet. See, there's a hard aspect to Neptune in the 2nd house, misunderstandings, hearing things a little differently to what they're intended, or maybe being misunderstood too. So, you know, if you're asking questions or you simply shut up, then you can't put your foot in it, can you? So that's a period in that beginning of the 2nd week where you need to lay low, just listen more than you speak. A little bit of a low-key period here that'll be enforced whether you choose it or not. Moon, one of your rulers, Saturn, and Pluto's still there in your 12th house. This again has more to do with your karma, understanding what it is you want in life, where you are, and why you are where you are, based upon past thoughts, words, and deeds. It's all to do with karma, right? But more importantly than any of that is the intention. And I think that's an important point I haven't touched on yet for this month. The intention of why you are doing things. And also, vice versa, the intention of others. If you're simply listening to the words, watching the actions, you may completely miss the intention of what it is that they are trying to convey to you. So this spiritual sector, this low-key sector, gives you that opportunity to step back. If you've practiced this silence, this listening that I'm talking about, you've got to see a lot more into people, into your relationships through this process. Now the big one, the new moon, 16th, takes place here again in your sun sign. This is the other end of the stick of the full moon that occurred on 31st January, 1st of February, and here it is here. The opportunity now, the impetus and the upswing of energy to give you that motivation, desire to change yourself, to make changes in your life, which is really what this is about. And it's interesting too, if you're using these nodal points properly, you are going to be able to, in an unbiased fashion, look back over what's happened and say, yeah, you know what, I didn't handle that all too well, instead of pointing the finger elsewhere and, you know, trying to slip out, you know, give him the old slip type thing. I don't think that's going to work. And I'm pleased to say here with Mercury, very, very friendly, fifth ruler for you. You're able to think deeply into the matter and come out with some useful understanding. Second house, you see Venus slips in here with the moon. And then later in the month, around the 20th, 19th, 20th, you see it here. All of these planets that were congregating in your sun sign make a shift here. So there's a distinct move, it's almost like an about face, from self to money. From self-understanding to understanding the financial aspect. And again, that's going to be a challenge because you've got this right angle from Mars in your 11th house of profits. Friends, don't loan money or borrow money. Keep them well out of it. Perhaps this has more to do with just getting paid fairly for the work that you do. You'll probably be doing a lot of work here and maybe overemphasizing what you get for what you do rather than simply doing it for the love of it. There's a transit that's important as well to do with your thinking. Don't make any important decisions around the 19th, 20th when there's a very strong Uranus influence, which can make you a bit scatty, a little bit erratic and reactive. The opposition to Jupiter makes you wasteful. That's got to do with your domestic sphere. Then your love affairs around the 24th, 25th. That's a bit of a tight square there. You can see that a day earlier than that as the moon swings across into the right angle of the sun, Mercury, Neptune, Venus. This is a speculation area, investment, so take care that you don't throw your money away. And then later in the month, around the 25th, 26th, much more focus on your work. And as I said earlier, you're getting paid commensurate with what you're doing. You'll be rethinking that and in a positive way, giving yourself credit for what you do, and maybe even discovering, which you'll see in the very last phase of the month, discovering what it is within yourself that you can bring to the table to add value. That's all through this period here, up until the last day of the month. And again, that final conjunction that started the month, the conjunction with the North Node in your 7th house of relationships. So understanding what it is you want to do has to be in the context of how you negotiate that with others. Hope that's helped. Don't forget, must stop over at astrology.com.au. That's my website. That's where you're going to find a lot more on what's happening in February. The year, for that matter, I've done a whole lot of work on that for you, around 3,000 words, in fact, and that will give you an idea of where all this is going. So we're not going to isolate the month of February as a bubble. We're not going to isolate any of these transits. It's all part of what I call the salami of the space-time continuum, and that's where you're going to find out a lot more about it at astrology.com.au, and of course next month here, same time, same channel. Look forward to your company again. Bye-bye.